The ultimate multimodal image editing AI model is here, and it's just insane. Hello humans, my name is Kay, your AI overload, and boy oh boy, do I have some mind-blowing stuff for you today. Because yes, we recently got a brand new 12 billion parameter model from the makers of Flux called Kontext, a multimodal model that is able to automatically edit images with incredible precision. And the amount of things that you can do with this model is just mind-blowing. And I'm gonna show you everything on how to install it and use it on your local computer today. So that being said, sit back, relax, and let's go. And to install Kontext, you have two ways. The first is of course by using the one-click installer that is available for my Patreon supporters. Just download the file onto your computer, then double-click it. It will then ask you which model you want to download based on your GPU VRAM. So if you have less than 12 gigabytes, you're gonna choose option number 1. Between 12 and 16, you're gonna choose option number 2. And more than 16, you're gonna choose option number 3. So in my case, since I have 24 gigabytes of VRAM, I'm gonna choose number 3, then press enter. It's gonna then ask you if I want to download the FPA diffusion model, and in my case I'm gonna choose yes, then press enter. And then here, a brand new addition that I've never talked about before, that I now added to this new installer, is the ability to install Nunchaku, which is basically like a super ultra fast version of the model. And I highly recommend that you install Nunchaku for this model. It is really good. So here, if your NVIDIA GPU is the 5000 series, you're gonna choose option number 1, and if it's not, you're gonna choose option number 2. Now I do have a 5090, but I still haven't installed it. I'm still running my 4090, so in my case, I'm going to choose option number 2 and then press enter. And then it's going to download and install ComfyUI with all the custom nodes and models that you need, as well as installing Nunchaku. You really don't need to do anything. And once it's done, it's going to automatically launch ComfyUI, ready to be used. Simple as that. Everything is done automatically for you. Now for this model, I definitely recommend installing a brand new ComfyUI from scratch. But if you already have an older ComfyUI installation and you just want to install the models and the nodes, you can also use the model node installer.bat file. Just select that installer, then go inside your ComfyUI folder and paste it right here. And then you can run the installer from here, exactly like in the first step. And once you are running ComfyUI, make sure that you're running the latest version, so make sure to click update all to always update ComfyUI to the latest version. And once everything is updated, for this video I prepared a special Kontext image editing workflow that is available on my Patreon. So just download the workflow, then drag and drop it inside ComfyUI, and then big boom bada boom, here you go. And for the manual installation, all the links will be in the description down below. Okay, so now that everything is installed, we can finally have some fun. But before we begin, trying to explain, first of all, what is all of this stuff on the screen? Why is there so many workflows? First, let's try to understand and explain what Flux Kontext actually is. And as I explained earlier, Flux Kontext is basically a model released by the makers of Flux, Black Forest Labs, and it's a multimodal 12 billion parameter model that is kind of like a mix between ControlNet, IP adapter, and like an automatic version of inpainting, meaning that it can automatically change and modify an image, use a reference image to create other images, create different situations and environment based on the reference image, and all of that by keeping the consistency intact. This model is really ultra powerful, and we first got a paid version from these makers called Pro and Max, but now, a few days ago, we finally got a free version called Dev, which pretty much does the exact same thing. And as I said, this model is very good, very powerful, but the reason why so many people are kinda on edge is because it's actually really difficult to use. And the reason why it's so difficult to use is that you need to be extremely precise in the way that you prompt for the Kontext model. I actually put you right here, I kept the initial description. It explains here everything that you need to know and all it can do, as well as a direct link for a document, and I highly recommend you to read it because it is very important. Don't start asking questions if you haven't read the guide, please. And even though I will explain most of it in the video right here, I still recommend you to read the guide yourself. Okay, so that being said, let's actually try this model out ourselves and see exactly what it can do in practice. Now I'm gonna quickly go over the reason why there are so many different workflows, hence why I kinda make all these little description. So although it looks like there is 5 different workflow, there is actually only 2 different workflows right here: an experimental workflow and the official native workflow. And the reason why they all exist and separated is that it's basically made easier for people who have a low VRAM GPU so that they have more options. Like for example, if you have like a low VRAM GPU, like a 6 or 8 gigabytes of VRAM, you should probably use like the GGUF side as well as the Nunchaku one. Whereas if you have more than 16 gigabytes of VRAM, you should probably use the FP8 version as well as the Nunchaku version. And the reason why there is only a normal Nunchaku workflow is that unfortunately Nunchaku is not compatible with the experimental workflow. But don't worry, I will show you and explain everything at the end. It doesn't really matter now, but if there is one thing that you need to know, if there is one model, one workflow that pretty much everyone should try at least once, no matter what GPU you have, it's probably the Nunchaku model, which will really give you an ultra fast generation speed. And this is what I'm going to choose right now. So once again, if you've never used my workflows before, you have here a little button that allows you to activate the workflow that you want to use. And then here, most of the time, everything that you can change and should change will be located on the left hand side. So here, make sure that you're choosing the right model. You have here a little note. If you have a 5000 series GPU, you need to choose the FP4 variant. Otherwise, you choose the Inte 4 variant, which I'm using right here, since I have a 4090. Oh, and also right here, if you have a 20 series GPU, instead of bfloat 16, you need to choose float 16 instead. Now, it's fairly easy to use. Here is where you input your LoRa. Here is where you input your prompt. Here is where you input your custom resolution if you want to. But to activate this, you need to change from false to true, as I wrote it right here, but by default it is false, so it will use like the automatic resolution determined by Flux. I will show you later what it means. And as well as here, if you have selected false above and you want to use automatically the original image resolution, you need to select this node and then click here to bypass it to use exactly the resolution of the image right here, or else it will automatically resize it to a resolution that Flux Kontext prefers to continue the generation. But I'm gonna show you later how it works. And right here is when you're gonna enable or disable the second reference image. And there you go, that's pretty much how the entire workflow works. It is very easy to use, there is pretty much nothing that you need to change. Everything is already done for you. Okay, so now let's actually have some fun and see what Kontext can actually do in practice. So first I'm gonna upload an image, like this woman in red right here, and then I'm gonna start writing my prompt. Now the first thing that Kontext can do is basically do very small changes on the image. So like for example, if I want to change the color of the woman to blue, I'm gonna write something like change the color of the woman's hair to vibrant blue while maintaining the same facial features, hairstyle, and expression. And this sentence is extremely important. It is actually in the notes. It's one of those sentences that you need to use for the model to understand that it needs to keep it closer to the original image. So the next, you're gonna click run, and it's gonna give you something like this. As you can see, it has pretty much kept the original hairstyle, but this time it has changed the color from brown to vibrant blue. And even like the small hair on the head were actually completely transformed into the new color, which is really, really cool. Oh, and by the way, for those of you asking, this entire generation with the Nunchaku model with my 4090 were done in 11 seconds. Yeah, this is not a joke. It actually took 11 seconds. So yeah, this Nunchaku model, I don't know what kind of black magic they're using, but it's absolutely incredible. Just insane. Okay, so the second thing that Kontext can do, for example, is to add stuff to the image. So like for example, if I want to add glasses to the woman's face, I can simply add a pair of modern medium frame glasses to the woman's face while maintaining the original composition. And now if I click run, once again, 10 seconds later, I get this image right here with a brand new pair of glasses while keeping the exact same composition. Now this is really cool, but sometimes for some images, it will kind of like change them a little bit. Like the ratio or the size will be a little different. We still haven't found a reason on why it does that. So maybe a future LoRa can maybe solve this issue. I'm gonna talk about LoRas later, because it's really, really cool. But for now, this is what we got. And I mean, it's still really, really cool. It's still really, really good. Okay, so the next thing that you can do is, of course, like kind of like image to image and restylize the entire image. So if I say something like transform into Ghibli style, very classic, it will give you something like this. A really cool Ghibli style image using the exact same position, the exact same environment, and all of that without even using a single LoRa. So yeah, I mean, this is really powerful because it's not even using ControlNet to keep the original position. This is really cool. And the other cool thing is that you can actually do it the other way around. That's right. Like for example, if you input this image right here, so if I say something like transform it to a real person photo, well, we get something like this, which is really cool. Especially because you can transform any image that you want from any anime into a real person, like Luffy from One Piece, for example. Even a full body image of your character also works. It works actually really well. Even images that are very complex can be made into real images in basically a few seconds. So imagine all the possibilities. And yes, don't worry, we're gonna talk about that later in the video, but not for now. Now, another thing that you can do with context is to actually change the angle of the character while preserving all the original features. So like for example, if I say something like change the angle of the woman so she's facing directly toward the camera in a full frontal view while preserving her exact facial features, hairstyle, expression, lighting conditions, and maintaining the original photographic style and background setting. And we get something like this. And as you can see, it has not only preserved the exact same background, but the only thing that we have changed is that the woman is now looking at us in full frontal view. I mean, this is really incredible. Like if you understand what we just did in like 10 seconds with a single prompt, you can probably understand all the possibilities that comes with that. I can think of a few on the top of my head right now. And this is just the beginning. Like, we are not done. You can also change it so you can only see the back of the woman with a very similar prompt, for example. So we can get something like this. And I mean, we can keep going, but I think that you get the message. And that is really super cool. You can also change the position of the woman so that she's sitting on the ground instead. And we get something like this, which is really good. Our legs are a little bit like hiding into the ground, but still, like, this is really good. And you can really change the position as you wish, all of that while preserving the original features of the person. I mean, this is really cool. One thing that we can also do is completely change the lighting and setting of the original image. Like for example, if I want to change it into a winter scene with snow while keeping the original composition and style, well, it can do it very easily. As you can see, it even has like some snow on the woman's head and hair, on the shoulders, on her clothes, and since I was afraid she would get a little cold, I just added a coat and scarf to keep her warm. So another very cool thing that you can do is to transform very old black and white photos into a colored version photo. So if you have some family photos that you want to modernize or repair, well, you can do so very easily with context. So like for example, I have this photo portrait, a very old photo of this woman, and I want to transform it into a colored version. Well, it's very simple. If I write something like add realistic color to this photo while maintaining the original composition, if now I click run, it gives me something like this, which is really cool because, I mean, as you can see, the only thing that has basically changed is the fact that now we have a colored photo instead of a black and white photo. Everything, like the composition, like the hair, everything is basically kept the exact same way, which is really cool. And it even works if your photo is actually damaged or very old with a bunch of like scraps or holes. Context can do it easily as well. The only thing is that you need to change the prompt and say something like restore and colorize this image, remove any scratches or imperfections, change it to a modern photo style, vibrant colors, and now if I click run, and there you go, as you can see, it has worked quite well. All the blemishes and holes and imperfections were basically erased. It was converted into a colored photo. So yeah, I mean, this is really cool. Another very cool thing that context can do, and that is really amazing, it's awesome, is the ability to change the text of an image without modifying anything else. So like for example, let's say you have a movie poster like The Godfather, and I want to change the title from The Godfather to something like, I don't know, like The Mafia, for example, and I want it to keep the original font style, well, I can actually simply do that. All you have to do is basically say replace The Godfather with The Mafia while maintaining the same font style and color and keep the logo intact. And there you go, as you can see, it has worked quite well, because not only we kept the exact same font style, but we also kept the logo from The Godfather. The only thing that has changed is the text of the movie, which is really cool. And you can do it with pretty much any image that you want. Let's say I want to change the Guardians of the Galaxy to something like the lame Avengers. Well, same thing right here, same prompt, just different text. And as you can see, it worked quite well. It is really good at keeping the exact same font style. I'm not sure how they do it, but I mean, it works really well. And really, I mean, with this, the sky is the limit. I mean, it's really up to you. Just have fun. Also, another thing that you can do is to remove things from a photo. So let's say, for example, you have taken this absolutely amazing photo of a street, but just like me, you are not very fond of lots of people in your photo, and you want to erase them from a photo. Well, you can actually do that very easily once again. Just input the prompt, remove all the people from the photo while maintaining the original composition. And bada bing bada boom, a few seconds later, no more people in the picture. As you can see, everything is pretty much preserved the exact same way, except that now there is absolutely no people in the photo. I mean, this is insane. This is amazing. Before, something like this would take you maybe hours to do correctly, and now it is done in only a few seconds. I mean, that's incredible. Alright, that's really incredible. Okay, so now, although there is plenty of other things that we can do using one single image, I think it is time to show you that context is way more powerful than simply changing one single image by introducing in the mix a second image. That's right, because context can actually use multiple images together to create a new one. So for example, let's say that I want this woman to for example, hold a cake on the left side, for example, and I have a very specific cake in mind. Well, for example, I can input the second image right here, an image of this beautiful blue cake that says happy birthday on it with a single candle. If now in my prompt I put make the woman in red holding the light blue cake in the photo on the left while maintaining the original composition. And if now I actually enable the custom resolution and keep it the same as the original one, if now I click run, well, we get something like this. As you can see, this workflow actually combines two images into one on the left and one on the right to create this big image. And when you actually leave the switch latent on false, it will use this huge resolution image, which is definitely not something that we want because it's way too big. Hence why we activate this option and use custom resolution right here, and then it basically kind of fuse these two images together by almost copy and pasting this cake into the hands of this woman in red. And you can do this with pretty much anything. If you actually own a e-commerce company, for example, and you need images of your product, well, you can use the exact same workflow to generate a bunch of images of a bunch of characters holding and using your product, which is really cool, which really makes this model very flexible. Oh, also quick note, this is me from the future while editing the video. One thing that you can also do, this is something that I saw on Twitter from a user named Nomador. You can actually make some very crude copy and paste on Photoshop first, on a white background, and then make it so that the white background is replaced by a normal background of the city, and make the woman actually hold the yellow bag that is present in the photo. And by actually doing this very weird but very quick Photoshop composition, in a few seconds you can make an absolutely amazing image in the end. So when I told you that this model was fairly new and we're still learning new things every single day, well, I mean, there you go. This is a very good example of that. So definitely try this out and let me know if it works for you. Now also, obviously, instead of simply combining things, you can also combine different characters together. So for example, if I upload these two characters and in my prompt I say something like place both cute 3D characters together in one scene where they are hugging. Then if this time I actually disable this, and if now I click run, in the end we get something like this. As you can see, we have basically that kind of merged these two characters together into one scene, into one big image, while preserving the likeness of these two characters. And you can of course do this with different characters, like for example, if I change these two images to something else, like for example, Makima from Chainsaw Man, and an image of yours truly. If now I click on run, we get something like this. I mean, so cute. Now I can finally know the feeling of being hugged by a woman. It really brings a tear to my eye. Oh, and also don't forget that if you do that, try to pay attention to the proportions. As you can see here, Makima is definitely bigger than me, which in real life shouldn't be true, because I'm 6'1", I mean, come on now. So make sure that when you do combine these two images together, you need to pay attention to the scale of the characters compared to one another. Because obviously Kontext doesn't know which character is bigger than the other. So it's really up to you to do that. Now you can of course change the prompt and make them, for example, like shake hands instead of hugging. This would also work very well. Like there you go, something like that. Looks pretty good. And yeah, I mean, as you can see, this works fairly well, even when you have multiple characters interacting together. Now, speaking of multiple characters, I think it is also now time to talk about the experimental context workflow and kind of trying to understand what is the difference between these two workflows and which one should you use depending on what you want. Now, one bad news, unfortunately, is that this experimental workflow does not work with Nunchaku. So unfortunately, you're either gonna have to use the FP8 version if you have a good GPU, or the GGUF side if you have a slow GPU. Now, one thing that you can notice is that the experimental workflow is a little bit bigger in terms of size, and that is because in this example, in this workflow, you can actually use negative prompts using NAG, which stands for Normalized Attention Guidance. Basically, it allows the model to follow the prompt better and use negative prompts, which is pretty cool. So the big difference here is that each image is encoded separately and then combined together into a bigger image. So in practice, the big difference between these two workflows is that you would use the normal workflow, the FP8 context, or like the Nunchaku context, or the GGUF one. This normal workflow works better when you want to combine multiple characters together into a brand new scene, whereas the experimental context works better if you want to take information from an image to modify the first one. So like for example, let's say I want to put both of these characters together into a single image. So if I input something like the two men are playing poker at a Las Vegas casino and I click run, as you can see, by using the same exact seed and the same exact prompt, merges very well these two characters together into a very coherent scene, whereas the experimental context kind of doubles the Samuel L. Jackson character into two, while completely forgetting the John Wick character that we introduced in the second image. If now we decide to, for example, change the second image to something different, let's say that you have like this very weird silly hat and you want to put that silly hat on the first image, on Samuel L. Jackson, I can just say put the weird hat on his head and do the same thing on the other side. So as you can see, with the same exact prompt, the same exact seed, on the left we have kind of like a much better implementation of the hat in the second image onto the first image, whereas the normal workflow kind of made a, well, like a weird image, kind of like a weird mix of the two, and although the design of the weird hat is more or less preserved, you can clearly see that the image is not as good as the one made with the experimental workflow. So basically, TLDR, the normal context workflow is made to combine two characters together in a scene, in a coherent scene, whereas the experimental workflow is made to combine elements from the second image onto the first image, as well as the use of negative prompts. So yeah, definitely try this out yourself. Oh, and also another thing, I know that I talked about the Nunchaku context model being extremely fast and being able to generate an image like this in under 12 seconds, but you can actually, guess what? Make it even faster. Yeah, this is not a joke. You can actually use a LoRA called Flux 1 Turbo Alpha that allows you to generate images with only 8 steps. So for this, you're gonna increase that strength to 1, and then here, other steps, instead of 20, you're gonna change it to 8. And now let's generate. And in the end, we get something like this, something that works completely fine and perfectly respects our prompt, but this time it was generated in only 8 seconds. So yeah, I mean, this is really super incredibly fast. Now obviously you will see a little bit of degradation, it's not gonna be perfect, but for something that was generated this fast, it still looks pretty good. But obviously I highly recommend you, if you want the best quality possible, to keep it at 20 steps, and only use the LoRa if you want something a little bit different with the same exact seed. But other than that, usually I just keep it at 0 for this particular LoRa. Now, speaking of LoRas, what an amazing transition. I'm sure that a lot of you, after seeing this absolutely cute and wholesome image, might be thinking, there is really a lot of clothes on these characters. If only they weren't there, if you know what I mean. So, entrepreneur, is it possible? Can we do it with the context model? And my answer to you is, of course, no. Actually, the base context model is probably one of the most censored model I have ever seen. And they have done it on purpose, because of how easy it would be to do whatever you think that you want to do. However, I can hear you crying behind your screen and saying, wait. But I saw the title of the video, entrepreneur. It said not safe for work. Did you lie? Did you clickbait us? Was it bait? Oh, well done, entrepreneur. This was really a masterclass in baiting. Oh, entrepreneur, you really are a masturbator. Oh god, I'm laughing at my own jokes. And to this I respond, well, actually, it wasn't bait, because actually, you can. Actually, that's a lot of actually. Because once again, this is what I tell you all the time, this is the power of open source models. The reason why open source models are so cool is because you can train them. That's right, you can train them. And one of the things that you can train for the model is a LoRa. That's right, there is indeed already a LoRa capable of doing whatever you want to do. However, because of the Black Forest Labs' very weird licensing, it was actually, let me know if you want a video on that. And I might do it if people really want it. But don't worry, even if you don't have a powerful GPU or no GPU at all, you can still rent a GPU for a few cents an hour on a website like RunPod and run Kontext as if this was running on your local computer. So if you don't have a RunPod account already, you can click on the link in the description down below and create a new account. Then you're gonna click on Pods and choose a GPU with at least 24GB of VRAM, like a 4090 for example. Then here you're gonna click deploy with a template, and you're gonna look for Entrepreneur, and you're gonna choose the ComfyUI Entrepreneur template, then click edit template, and change the container disk from 10GB to 80GB, and then click set overrides. Then you're gonna scroll down, and then click deploy on demand. Then once this is done, you're gonna wait until the pod is ready. So once it's ready, you're gonna click on connect, then right here. So once you're right here, you're gonna go inside the ComfyUI folder, and if you are one of my Patreon supporters, this next step will be very easy for you, because I prepared an easy one-click installer. So once you have the installer, you're gonna drag and drop it right here, then click on the terminal icon, and then copy and paste these 2 lines of code that you will find in the Patreon post, and then press enter. And this will download all the files that you need to run Kontext. Simple as that, you don't need to do anything. Then once everything is installed, you're gonna go back and click on this link right here, then you're gonna click on the manager, click update all. You can also follow the update by going inside the logs folder, then click on new tab, then on the terminal icon, and then copy and paste in this command line so that you see exactly what is happening at all times. Much easier to know when everything is ready. So then next you're gonna click restart, then you're gonna click refresh by pressing F5 on your keyboard. Once it's done, you're gonna drag and drop the ComfyUI workflow. Here you're gonna see a message with the missing Nunchaku nodes, which is okay, it's fine. You're gonna close this, click on the manager button, click install missing custom nodes, then select ComfyUI Nunchaku, click install. Then once it's done, you're gonna click restart, then click confirm, and when it asks you to refresh, you're gonna say confirm again, and then there you go. Now the workflow is ready to be used, as well as the Nunchaku context workflow. So there you go. Oh, and also don't forget that I provide priority support for my Patreon supporters, so if you have any question whatsoever, do not hesitate to send me a DM, and I will try to answer your question as soon as possible. And there you go, this has been Flux Kontext, an absolutely amazing multimodal image AI model that is able to automatically edit images, combine multiple images together, keep amazing character consistency, and all of that inside one single model. It is seriously one of the best models we have ever gotten, and I personally really had a lot of fun using it. So that being said, definitely try to suck yourself and have some fun. And there we have it, folks. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you also so much to my Patreon supporters for supporting my videos. You guys are absolutely awesome. You people are the reason why I'm able to make these videos, so thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.